Welcome to CAD Technologies. Today in this video we'll be seeing how to make this model. There are three different views. As you can see, this is the front view, this is the left view, and this is the isometric view. We'll be understanding these views and we'll make the 3D model of the same. You can subscribe to our channel CAD Technologies for further more videos of tutorials in various modules like sheet metal surfacing, etc. Now, let's begin making this. This is a typical part modeling exercise. It's a little bit advanced. So I'd like to show you how this works. So beginning, I'd like to make the base. As you can see, this is my base. I'd like to make the base which is of 388 by 20, and the addition of material is done up to 218. Now, the addition of material, I'd like to do it symmetrically on either side because I have a lot of features depending on the center, and I have these features being mirrored as well. So if I take it to one side, then I'd have to take a mirror again exactly at the center. To avoid this, I'll be doing a symmetrical extrusion using Creo as the CAD tool. Now, let's begin making this. Now, taking the front view, creating the addition of material, I have a center line and a rectangle. This is 388 and this is 20, which I've just shown you a while back. Now I want to add the material equally, that is symmetrically with respect to the front plane on both the sides, which is up to 218. Let me do that to 218 and say okay. Now next, let's make this shape. All the dimensions for this shape are already mentioned. Now, let's begin doing that. Same addition of material. I'd like to take a center line and start from the base. Now, the distance is given between this as well as this, which is 380. So I'll mirror this and give the 380 first. We know that the center of this is 212. So the line usually ends there. I'll take a datum point. The reason again I'm taking a datum point is this is common for the circle and the cut. So if I take a center here, I can use this center as a reference point for further cuts or addition of material. That is why I have taken a datum point. Now the datum point is actually placed at a distance from the bottom face to 212. From the bottom face to 212. Now let me make these two in line with each other so you don't have any issues. Now there is another arc. Now the dimensions of these is 180. I'd like to take that. Now the overall height is given as 250, but this is a circle diameter. As you can see, 212. This is a diameter which is a little below 20. So I'll use this as the reference so I can add the material later. Let me take that. And again keeping a datum point because I want to use this as a reference, and from this center to this center they have mentioned is supposed to be 250. Whatever line or whatever face I am trying to take till here, the gap over here, the distance over here for the circle extrusion is 20. So I'd leave that 20 over here and then continue with my sketch. Now I'd like to mirror all of these on the other side as well. Now, we know that the diameter here is 212 and the circle is tangent with the face. So obviously the length for this is supposed to be 212. So I'd like to take that as 212. Now let me close the bottom and then start addition of material. Now this addition of material is actually done till here, which is 212. So let me try to take that as 212. Again I am trying to do it symmetrically because of the same reason mentioned in the first during the beginning of the video. Now we'll add this as well. This will be easy to add for us right now because you can just directly take an extrusion and maintain tangency with the reference. Because we have already maintained 210, let me select the center and maintain tangency. So once I say okay, it adds up the material. We also know till where you're supposed to add it. It's till this axis, as you can see, because we have already used that as a reference in the earlier sketch. So So I'm just selecting that, so it adds material up to that particular reference. Continuing with the model, we know that there is an internal cut over here. As you can see, that cut is actually up to 184. Let's try to make that. It begins from here, but there is an issue that if you want to make that cut, you would require to make this revolve cut before further proceeding to this. So instead, let's try to make this revolve cut first and then go ahead with it, because we can use this edge as the reference for our cut. Now, we already know how much are the cuts. This 180 up to 20 and 168 up to 10. So I'd like to use a revolve command here because it's easier for me. You can use holes as well, no issues. I know it somewhat comes like this. Since it's 20, I'm using this as the reference because I already know this is 20 and this is supposed to be 10. Let's check the diameters. It's 180 and 168. This is supposed to be 180. This is supposed to be 168. The reason why I have taken this revolve first is because this feature is dependent on the edge of it. Now let's try to make the internal cut. As you can see at 198 it's dependent. Now at the center, I'll be using this as my reference. Now I have a line. Let me take a center line. This is maintaining 198, which I have just shown you. Now, there is also an arc which is of 176 radii. I'll take an arc of 176 radii. The radius of this is 176. Now the same line is on to the other side. Let me mirror it and then create a. This is the sketch. Now the distance over here is actually 4. The internal feature is 4. So let me try to cut that, because the overall addition, the extra addition is 4, and this cut is actually 4. So let me try to take that. I don't think that's parallel. Great. Now once I say OK, it starts beginning its cut. Now the cut is internal. In this view, the section view is only shown on one side. It's not shown through the complete view. So on the one side of the view, you can see that the cut is only till this extent. Even in the left view, it's only shown on one side, not on the other side. So the cut is only up to 184, which is cut internally and symmetrically. Again, the reason why I have taken symmetry earlier is to do these type of cuts. Now, there is also another cut which is R12. You can see the shape. So let me try to make that. Again, I'll follow the sketch by taking my center lines. This is supposed to be 30, and I have this arc which is an offset of 14 of the internal circle. So let me take the internal circle as my reference, and then it is offsetted to 14. That is the 14 arc. Now I'd like to make a corner of these two. Now coming back to that, you also have another line which is again of 14 TYP. That is, it takes a 14 TYP from this edge onto the other side, hence I am giving minus. Again, I'd like to corner these two, and we'll try to give this round a little later, not an issue. And there is 164. This end is actually lying on the 20, so this is the 20 reference lying on the 20, and then I have an arc and then closure this way. Now I know that this is 164, so let me take that as 164 and say OK. Now this is also an internal cut to the same distance, which is 184. So again I can do it symmetrically to 184, or you can just directly select the faces of these bodies as well. For example, instead of doing symmetry, I can give up to selected and select the internal face. Same way onto the other side I can do the same thing and then select the internal face. This gives more control to you over the body. Again, I'll mirror the same feature onto the other side, creates the cuts. Now, let's add the circle. We know this major circle, which is of 30, 340. Let's try to add that at the center. Remember the reference we have taken in the first sketch is actually over here. So let's try to take the circle and say it's supposed to be 340. Now the 340 is actually only up to 4. So I'll do that to 4. The same thing is repeated on the other side as well. So I'd like to mirror it and then keep it onto the other side as well. The slanted edge has a protrusion which is shown in the auxiliary view. The protrusion is of this way. We know that this is starting from the edge. So let me try to take a reference at the edge by creating a point exactly at the center. This will help me use this as the reference point. Now I'll give 0.5, which is the center. On this face, using this as my reference, I'd like to make the profile. This is my center at the moment. Now, I'll use this as the center line. My rectangle is supposed to begin from this particular face. Let me take a center line on this one as well. I am getting other references which I do not want them to interfere with the body. Let me take it this way. Now, we know that it's a square. They have already mentioned that it's a square. So, I'd like to equal both the lines and give one dimension, which is 162. Now, the 162 is also added to 4, which we have seen in the cut while doing the internal cuts. This is added to 4. So, I'd like to give 4. The same thing is done on the opposite side. So, you can create a mirror onto the opposite side as well. Now, let's try to create this cut, which is of 130 by 130. Again, it's a square. As you can see, you can use the same reference, or you can take midpoints for your for the existing feature as well. This is, I have these 4 as my references. Now on this, I am trying to make this cut exactly at the center. So we know how to take the center. You can keep midpoints. It's an easier option. Or while making the center line, if you just place your cursor, it auto takes the midpoint and you can keep the midpoint. Now I'd like to take a center rectangle because I know the midpoints and I can create a square. I know this is 132. This is a square, 132. This is going to cut through the body this way. The same thing is being mirrored onto the other side because you require it on the other side as well. So I'd like to make the cut on the other side as well. Okay. Now, all features are done except for this one. This is at a distance of 292 towards the edge. So let me try to take that with a center to center distance of 2, with the center to center distance of 280. On this, I'd like to make a sketch. First, because I want to maintain 292, that is the reason I am making a sketch, or I need not do this. I can just maintain 292 by 2 and then take a plane and further proceed. But since 292 is given to me, I'd like to maintain that. This is 292. Now, I can take a plane passing through this point. On this plane, I'd like to create the extrusion. Now, I know that the center to center distance is supposed to be 280. So, what I'll do is, I'll take a rectangle and take a center on this. It's just a normal point. I'd like to keep it at the center and I'll mirror the whole thing onto the other side. The center to center distance, that is this center to this center distance, is given as 280. And we know the center to center is given as 280. The height is 30. The depth is also 30. You can just give equal constraint also. There is no issue at all. This is 30 T by P. Now I'd like to add the material up to the next body. You can mirror the same thing onto the other side. So you can see the 4. They're full rounds, so I just directly take these 2 rounds and then give full round onto the other side as well. This will be a. You can take axes as well if you're interested. I can just select this, it gives me the axis. You can do that as well, there's no problem. Or you can directly create a pattern while drilling the holes. Whichever is feasible for you, you can do that. There is no issue. Now, since we have finished making the model, let's try to make these holes which are given to us. The first one is in the center, which is of the center hole, which is of 260. On the center, instead of 260, and through. This is your first cut. Sorry, it's supposed to be through. Now, the second cut or second holes which I'd like to make is the 16 dia, which is on PCD 300. So, inside the same hole command, as you can see over here, this is a hole command. Inside this is 16 dia. Under placement, you have an option which is called diametrical. Whenever you have a pitch circle diameter provided to you, you can use a diametrical type of hole. It's under the parameters tab. So all you have to do is select the axis. So you can provide the PCD. For us, it's supposed to be 300, and select from which do you want the angle. My angle is supposed to be 0. Obviously, you want it up to the next. So I'd give it that way. Now it's easier for you to create a pattern using your axis pattern. How many do I want? I want 8 of them because there are 16 in the drawing. 8 on this side, 8 on the back side. On this side as well as on the back side. So I'd like to give this side first and then create a mirror of the same onto the back side as well. It gives 16. Now other ones are these. These are a little easy to make, 40 TYP. You just require a lot of, you just require a center. So let me try to take that center first. You can do it like how we have done earlier, like taking references, that's easy. Or you can keep a center point while making the sketch itself. That's also easy. Whichever again is flexible for you, you can do it. Okay, I'm taking the midpoint as you can see. Again, I'm taking the midpoint again as you can see. Now, I want a midpoint of this as well. Like I want this to be a midpoint. So I just take this as well. Now, I have 3 points on this line. This is the center. I want another point on this side as well. And the distance between this and this is supposed to be 40. They have already mentioned typical here. So all the distances from center to center is 40. I'll mirror this onto the other side. Now I can mirror these 3 onto the other side as well. Now I'll do the same thing over here, understanding this as my reference. You don't have to do all of this if you have already pre-planned and you have taken your center reference. I didn't do that because I wanted to show how you make cuts and all. So this is the center, and then I have another one. I know that the distance from the center to center is 40, and then I can mirror this onto the other side. Let's try to take the whole thing and then mirror it onto the other side as well. This will be your actual sketch. Now that we know what is the diameter, etc. for these, you can directly drill the hole. You can give or drill the hole. Now this is 8. I'd say up to next. Here I'd like to use a simple point pattern because I've already predefined my points and select the points. Now the whole thing again can be mirrored. One time effort can be done to all the 16 holes. If I'm not wrong, 24 holes. I'm sorry. Now, there are holes over here on this feature as well, which is of 16 dia. As you can see, it's shown as a hidden view for our understanding. So on this, let me try to make a sketch. If I make one, I can mirror it onto the other side. If I make this, then I can directly mirror, or actually you can use direction pattern as well. The distances are from center to center, which I already know. I do not know the center from here to here, hence I am doing a point pattern. If you know the distance, you can actually do a direction pattern as well. Now, the same way I am trying to use a point pattern. This is your point pattern. Now there is also another one at the center which is 12. So I'd like to take that. Center is a little easier for me because I have planes over here. First plane and the second plane. Let me try to align them to the center. Give the diameter and up to the next. Last but not the least, the finishing operations are already mentioned. There is one round over here and here. Let me try to check what the rounds are. This is 5. Supposed to be 5. Now other rounds, one is 5, one is 12, which is the internal. Let me try to give this. This is supposed to be 12. And then other rounds are here, which is R20. So let me try to take these edges. Not advisable to mirror rounds because later if you have any changes or anything, the whole round feature is going to fail and you might have to redo it. So instead, take your time and then do it this way. If you do mirror, again you will have to face a lot of issues later when you make any sort of an editing to your model or any sort of changes to your model. There you go. This is the 3D model of the 2D drawing. Let me try to show you the section views of what they have given. I'd like to consider the front view. Okay, let me take the left view or the right view. This is the right view. And coming back to the front view, this is your front view. If you want to know more, please subscribe to our channel. We'll keep uploading videos of a little more easier as well as more complicated components so you can practice at your home. Thank you.